There's a question I've never really said out loud. Not to my friends, not to my doctor, not even to myself in a mirror. But it's been there, buzzing quietly in the back of my mind, especially late at night when I'm alone. Am I masturbating too much? At first, I thought it was a stupid question. I mean, everyone does it, right? It's natural, it's normal. Your body is just responding to hormones. There's nothing to be ashamed of. I told myself that over and over, but then something shifted. I started noticing how often I was doing it. Not once a day, not twice, multiple times, even when I didn't really want to, even when I was tired or had work to do. And then came the guilt. Not religious guilt, just this creeping feeling that I was relying on it, like I couldn't relax without it, like I couldn't focus until it was out of the way, like my body was stuck in a loop my mind couldn't break. At one point, I even found myself canceling plans just to stay home, not because I was tired, not because I had other things to do, but because I needed privacy, because I felt the urge. And when the urge hit, it was hard to ignore. That's when the question came back, but louder this time. Is this still healthy? Or am I just hiding behind the word normal to avoid facing a problem? If you've ever had that thought, if part of you has ever quietly wondered if your habits are getting out of control, I want you to know this: you're not broken, you're not disgusting, you're not weird, you're just human. And asking yourself that question means you're already growing more self-aware than most. So let's go there, together. In this video, we're going to explore what too much really means, how to tell if your habit is hurting you more than helping you, and most importantly, what to do if you're ready to take back control. Let's talk about it, for real this time. But it was tricky. There's no universal number, no rule that says this many times is fine and this many is too much. Every body is different. Every brain is wired a little differently. So how do you even begin to know? For me, it wasn't about how many times. It was about how much control I felt I had. And the truth is, I didn't have much. I started noticing things, like how I'd plan my day around it. If I had a free hour, my mind would automatically go there. Sometimes I'd skip workouts or ignore texts from friends, just so I could be alone and do it. And it wasn't always because I wanted to. It just felt like something I had to do, like brushing my teeth, like checking my phone first thing in the morning. I also noticed how I felt when I couldn't do it. I was restless, easily irritated, distracted. If I was in public and the urge came up, I'd feel this weird panic, like I needed to get away, find a moment alone. That's when I knew I wasn't just choosing to do it anymore. I was being pulled toward it. And maybe the scariest part was how much of my mental energy it was taking up. Even when I wasn't doing it, I was thinking about it. I'd start a task, lose focus, and my brain would drift. It became my go-to comfort, my default escape. But when comfort becomes compulsion, when escape becomes obsession, it stops being healthy. Even if the act itself is natural, the relationship I had with it was. I had to be honest with myself. I wasn't just blowing off steam. I was avoiding my stress, avoiding my emotions, avoiding my boredom, and it was costing me more than I realized. I used to think this was just about hormones, that I was young, that my body was wired this way, that maybe I just had a high sex drive. But the more I looked into it, the more I realized it was deeper than that. Yes, hormones play a role. Testosterone, dopamine, all of that. But what I didn't understand was how much my brain had learned to depend on the reward. Every time I masturbated, my brain got a quick hit of dopamine. That's the chemical behind pleasure, motivation, and reinforcement. It made me feel good, especially when life didn't. But the problem is, our brains are really good at learning shortcuts. And when you start using one specific behavior over and over to get that hit, your brain starts treating it like a primary coping mechanism. That's what happened to me. Whenever I felt anxious, I'd go there. When I was bored, I'd go there. When I felt rejected, alone, insecure, I'd go there. At first, it helped. It distracted me. It gave me a moment of escape. But over time, it started to rewire my brain. Instead of processing discomfort, I was escaping it. Instead of building real resilience, I was soothing myself with a habit. Psychologists call this avoidance-based coping. It's when we don't deal with the root of the feeling. We just cover it up with something that feels good temporarily. It's like putting a blanket over a fire instead of putting the fire out. Worse still, the pleasure began to fade. That's the effect of habituation, when the brain becomes desensitized to a stimulus after repeated exposure. I needed more stimulation, more intensity, but even then, it wasn't as satisfying. That's when I knew this wasn't about sex anymore. This was about control, about emotion regulation, about a brain that had been trained accidentally to numb itself. And that scared me, because I realized that if I didn't step in and rebuild new patterns, my brain would keep reinforcing the same loop, not because I was weak, but because I had taught it to survive this way, and now I had to unlearn it. How I started taking control back. Awareness was just the first step, but it wasn't enough. I knew I needed a plan, something real, something I could practice daily, because I couldn't just rely on willpower. I had tried that. It didn't work, so I started small, tiny shifts, and slowly they worked. Here are a few things that helped me break the cycle. One, I started tracking my urges, not in a judgmental way, just noticing. When did the urge show up? Was I tired, lonely, bored, stressed? I found patterns, and once I saw the patterns, I wasn't blind to them anymore. Two, I created a pause habit. When I felt the urge, I'd stop and breathe. Not forever, just for 15 minutes. I'd say to myself, if you still want to after 15 minutes, fine. But more often than not, that window gave me enough space to think and to choose. Three, I replaced, not erased. I couldn't just remove the habit. That left a void, so I filled it with things that gave me a different kind of dopamine. Walking, stretching, journaling, calling a friend, even drinking a glass of water. I just needed to interrupt the automatic script. Four, I cleaned up my inputs. That meant unfollowing certain pages, turning off suggested reels, deleting apps that led me back into old loops. It wasn't about shame. It was about making things easier for my future self. 5. I got honest with someone I trust. This was the hardest, but when I shared what I was going through, I didn't feel disgusting. I felt human, and less alone, that changed everything. These habits weren't magic, but they gave me space. Enough space to breathe, enough space to pause, and in that space I started feeling free again, not because I won the battle, but because I stopped running from myself and started choosing something different, one moment at a time. You're not broken, but you deserve better. If there's one thing I wish someone had told me sooner, it's this. You're not broken, not because of what you do in private, not because of how many times, not because your body has cravings or your brain wants relief. That's not what makes you flawed. What hurts us is silence, shame, avoidance. The longer I kept this hidden, the worse it got, because hiding it made it feel more powerful. And I felt smaller, like I was trapped in something I didn't know how to explain. And even worse, I thought no one else would understand. But the truth is, many people go through this. Maybe not the same way, maybe not for the same reasons, but so many of us are trying to soothe ourselves in a world that doesn't teach us how to feel. So we reach for something that gives quick comfort, even when it leaves us feeling empty afterward. And when we feel that emptiness, we tell ourselves, this is just who I am. But it's not. It's who we became temporarily in the absence of better tools. And the amazing part is once you start noticing, once you start asking honest questions, once you start choosing differently, even just once, you're already creating a new path forward. Not a perfect path, not a straight one, but a path that leads somewhere real. I still slip up sometimes. I still feel urges, but I don't hate myself for them anymore, because now I understand them. I can sit with them, and I can choose, not react. That's the kind of strength I didn't know I had. And it didn't come from fighting my urges. It came from finally listening to what they were trying to tell me. So if you're still here, if you've related to even a single part of this, then this isn't the end of your story. It's the start of your awareness. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be honest and brave enough to try again today. If this helped you, or if you've been on a similar journey, share something in the comments. One thought, one experience. You never know who's reading that needs it. And if you want to keep building a stronger, kinder version of yourself, subscribe to High Day Psych. We're figuring this out together, one real conversation at a time.